How Robyn reshaped the Brown family, a culture transformed. When Robyn Brown entered the world of sister wives, she didn't just add a new face to the family dynamic. She altered its very foundation. While she often recounts her arrival as that of a hopeful woman, joining what she believed was a spiritually harmonious polygamous household, the reality revealed on screen painted a much more complex picture. Robyn frequently reminisces about a time when the Brown family was, in her words, a beautiful polygamous unit. According to her, she joined out of admiration for this unity and a sincere belief that she was contributing to something meaningful. But decades of coexistence and cooperation among Mary, Janelle, and Christine were tested the moment the family's framework began to shift. For nearly 20 years, the Brown family endured the many trials that come with plural marriage, financial strain, parenting coordination, and emotional balance. But they remained intact. That alone spoke volumes about their resilience. Relationships in polygamy require communication, sacrifice, and a shared vision. Yet what viewers began to see unfold was less about spiritual unity and more about a slow but impactful transformation of priorities, values, and power. The subtle shift in power. One of the most notable changes came in how the family made decisions. Originally, the Browns operated on consensus. Each wife had a voice. Family meetings included everyone's opinions, and outcomes were generally reached through cooperation and compromise. After Robyn joined, that process began to change. While the original three wives would speak their minds in group settings, Robyn would often wait, sitting quietly, offering little during discussions. But later, off-camera or in private with Kody, her influence seemed to manifest. Kody would return to the group, announcing decisions that appeared aligned more with Robyn's interests than the collective good. This shift didn't go unnoticed. As Christine once said in a confessional, when you realize your vote doesn't matter anymore, you stop showing up. That's precisely what began to happen. Participation dwindled. Trust eroded. The original structure collapsed not from a single moment, but from subtle imbalances that added up over time. Parental roles and emotional space. Family culture isn't just about how decisions are made. It's also about how emotional labor is shared. Robyn's integration into the family included attempts to form bonds with all the children, including those of Christine, Janelle, and Mary. In theory, this was expected in a plural family, but the method was unique. Rather than gradually building those relationships, Robyn sometimes positioned herself as a central figure of authority, something the older children weren't ready to accept. This came to a head during a conversation about teen dating, where Robyn shared her own experiences as cautionary tales. The teenagers reacted with resistance. They saw her as overstepping, not as a guiding sister wife, but as someone rewriting rules in a house already filled with them. Christine, in particular, expressed discomfort. She voiced concerns that Robyn's relationship with Kody was blurring traditional boundaries, not just with time, but with emotional expectations too. The time divide. In a plural marriage, time is one of the most precious resources. It is meant to be distributed fairly among wives and their children. Yet from early on, Christine and Janelle both expressed concerns that Robyn was receiving disproportionate attention, even before her marriage to Kody was finalized. "I don't think it's fair," Christine said in an early season. "She's not even married yet, and she's getting as much time as we are." Robyn's defense was that the courtship took longer than expected, and she and Kody needed more time to bond. Yet the reality for the other wives was clear. Their evenings were being cut short. Their children were noticing Kody's absences. What was once a predictable routine began to fracture. This uneven distribution of time was never fully resolved, and it set a precedent that would continue to ripple throughout the family for years. Financial fractures and rising tensions. Even before Robyn officially joined the family, financial strain was a recurring theme. Janelle, always the pragmatic voice, warned about the cost of adding another adult and 3 more children to a household that was already stretched thin. "We're barely keeping our heads above water," she said, sitting on the family's famous confessional couch. Though she never said it outright, her expression carried the weight of unspoken worries. Medical bills, school supplies, housing needs, and now the debts and expenses of a new wife seemed unfazed. His attention was on building something new, not stabilizing what already existed. Robyn, too, entered with expectations and needs of her own. The emotional and financial energy diverted toward this new branch of the family left the others feeling abandoned. Mary's place in the story. Perhaps the most complicated aspect of Robyn's integration involved Mary. As the original wife, Mary had once played a central role in the family. She was also the one who introduced Robyn to Kody, believing at the time that her contribution would strengthen the family. But things changed quickly. Viewers were stunned when Kody later revealed he had repurposed his wedding ring from Mary in order to create one for Robyn. A symbolic act that was never fully addressed within the family, but spoke volumes to fans. To many, it marked a clear reprioritization. One marriage replaced by another. Though Mary tried to stay on good terms with Robyn, there was always a tension between her hope of reclaiming closeness with Kody and the reality of being increasingly sidelined. Eventually, that struggle contributed to her emotional detachment from the family. Why it all fell apart. The truth is, Robyn didn't enter a perfect family. The Browns already had issues, from money to communication breakdowns to unresolved emotional wounds. But what her arrival did was accelerate those fissures. The family culture before Robyn emphasized unity, balance, and shared responsibility. Afterward, a new structure took hold, one that revolved around individual relationships rather than collective harmony. Over time, the original wives began to step back, one by one. Christine left, Janelle followed, and Mary, long distant emotionally, finally stepped away as well. The Brown family still exists in name, but the plural marriage at its heart, the shared purpose that once defined them, is gone. The new reality. Today, Robyn and Kody are the only remaining couple. The dream of plural marriage has faded into the rearview mirror, replaced by a new model, one far removed from the values once espoused on sister wives. This story isn't about blame. It's about evolution and the cost of shifting priorities. Robyn didn't single-handedly cause the breakdown, but her presence became the fulcrum of a transformation that changed everything. And now, what remains of the Brown family is a living memory of what used to be. A complex legacy built on faith, ambition, love, and ultimately Brown joined the Brown family in 2010. The world saw what looked like a hopeful new chapter for a modern polygamous family. But behind the scenes of TLC's Sister Wives, a quiet revolution was already underway. Robyn didn't just step into a family, she redefined it. Over the next decade, what had once been a cooperative, if complicated, household evolved into something completely different. It wasn't destruction, necessarily, it was transformation. A cultural shift that would touch every corner of the Brown family's identity. The original blueprint, the OG3. Before Robyn, the Brown family functioned with a delicate but time-tested structure. Mary, Janelle, and Christine, the original 3 wives, had worked out an ecosystem built on compromise, cooperation, and mutual respect. Each woman had her domain, her role, and her rhythm. It wasn't perfect. No polygamous family is, but it was familiar. It worked because everyone was equally invested in the success of the family, even when they didn't always agree. Decisions were often made collectively. While Kody was the husband, the dynamic was closer to a partnership than a dictatorship. One wife, one vote was the informal rule. The OG3 often hashed out major issues together before bringing things to Kody, and even then, his role was more referee than ruler. But when Robyn entered the picture, that model slowly began to change. The entrance of the new wife energy. Robyn didn't just bring a new personality into the household, she brought a new set of expectations. Unlike the original 3 wives, Robyn had not come from years of shared experience with Kody or the broader family network. Her concept of polygamy had largely been shaped by childhood observations, not personal practice. She came in with wide eyes and an open heart, and a strong desire to redefine what polygamy could look like for her. That alone wouldn't have caused a stir. But Kody, deeply smitten, began restructuring the family dynamic to accommodate Robyn's preferences. And that's where things began to shift. Suddenly, family decisions weren't so collaborative. Instead of roundtable discussions, conversations splintered into side meetings. Most notably, private talks between Robyn and Kody. It wasn't long before the other wives noticed that decisions were often made before they were even consulted. What used to be a democracy slowly started looking more like a monarchy, with Kody as king and Robyn as queen. Power, privacy, and perception. One of the most visible changes after Robyn joined the family was the imbalance of time. From the beginning, Kody's courtship with Robyn was longer, more intense, and, to the dismay of the other wives, more public. The cameras followed him on long drives to see her, capturing the glow in his face that hadn't been seen with the others in years. Christine, then pregnant with their 6th child, was the first to openly voice her discomfort. "He's spending more time with Robyn than he should," she said during a confessional. "It doesn't feel equal." And she wasn't wrong. Robyn's honeymoon period with Kody didn't end after the wedding. In many ways, it never ended at all. While the OG3 shared time with Kody in a rotating schedule, Robyn's share of his time quickly became more significant. Later seasons would reveal that during the COVID-19 pandemic, Kody stayed almost exclusively at Robyn's house. The physical absence he displayed from the other wives during that time was a visual representation of a deeper emotional divide. The perception of favoritism, whether intentional or not, caused rifts. Janelle, always the pragmatist, began spending more time independently. Christine, once devoted to the family vision, eventually reached a breaking point. And Mary, who had once been close to Robyn, found herself increasingly isolated. The cultural overhaul, how decisions were made. In the early days of Sister Wives, big family decisions were messy but shared. Moving to Las Vegas? That was a family-wide conversation. Choosing to buy 4 homes on the same cul-de-sac. It took negotiations, disagreements, and finally consensus. But as Robyn's influence grew, those open conversations became more performative. The original wives would speak their minds in family meetings, only to watch Kody later enact decisions that reflected private discussions he'd had with Robyn alone. She didn't often speak over the others. In fact, Robyn's strategy was subtle. She played the role of the thoughtful observer, often quiet during group talks, but deeply involved in one-on-one moments with Kody. From an outside view, she appeared diplomatic. But inside the family, this approach translated to quiet power, influence without confrontation. This shift in power dynamics wasn't lost on the original wives. "It's like we're extras in their story," Christine once remarked in a later season. And perhaps in a way, the maternal divide. Another delicate area of transformation was in how Robyn engaged with the Brown children. both her own and those of the other wives. Initially, Robyn tried to form bonds with all the kids. She called herself a bonus mom and made efforts to include the children from the other wives. But some of the older kids bristled. Many had grown up in a specific family culture that included shared parenting, but also respected clear maternal lines. Robyn's approach, part motherly, part peer, sometimes clashed with what the teens were used to. Stories emerged of tension, especially when Robyn appeared to parent or discipline children who weren't hers. The trust wasn't automatic. It had to be earned. And for some, it never quite was. At the same time, Robyn's own children, especially Dayton and Aurora, were given special consideration when it came to schedules and space. Kody's attentiveness to Robyn's kids, especially compared to his strained relationships with others, only deepened the divide. Over time, some children from the OG3 openly distanced themselves from the family structure, citing frustrations with how things had changed, financial shifts, and emotional costs. Another major area of transformation was financial. When Robyn entered the family, she brought with her 3 children from a previous marriage and existing debt. This required new financial planning, but it also strained an already tight budget. Janelle, who had long served as the financial planner and stabilizer for the family, voiced early concerns. "We're barely keeping our heads above water," she said during one early episode. Adding another wife and more children meant stretching resources even thinner. But Kody's enthusiasm for supporting Robyn's needs, including investing in a jewelry business and later purchasing a large home in Flagstaff, sometimes felt at odds with the sacrifices being asked of the others. While Janelle lived in a trailer on the Coyote Pass property, Robyn resided in a spacious home with extra bedrooms and a full-time presence from Kody. To viewers and family members alike, the imbalance was jarring. It wasn't just about money, it was about emotional equity. The final fractures, love and loyalty. As the seasons passed, the fractures deepened. Christine was the first to officially leave. Her departure wasn't dramatic, it was decisive. "I deserve a relationship where I'm loved and respected," she said. That statement echoed not just a personal truth, but a cultural one. The family that had once stood for unity had become a collection of isolated lives orbiting a central pair, Kody and Robyn. Janelle would follow, and even Mary, the longest-tenured wife, eventually stepped away. Each departure marked not just the loss of a marriage, but the end of a shared vision. Robyn often expressed sadness over the disintegration of the family. She spoke of broken dreams and lost unity. But others saw it differently. For them, the culture had changed long before the divorces. The polygamous family they had built, one based on shared effort and mutual sacrifice, had been quietly replaced by something else. A new family model. Today, Robyn and Kody remain together, monogamous in practice if not in name. The irony is not lost on fans or former family members. The woman who once said she wanted to join a plural family for spiritual reasons now exists in a structure far from it. But perhaps that, too, speaks to the transformation she helped usher in. Robyn didn't destroy the Brown family, not in the sense of malice or intent. Rather, she reshaped it, redirected it, and ultimately pulled it toward a different path. What began as a plural marriage ended as a monogamous love story, just not the one viewers were expecting. And in that transformation, Robyn left her mark, not just on Kody's heart, but on the entire culture of the Brown family.